Well, now to some breaking new details after a shocking day in the Franklin County Courthouse.
A mistrial is declared in the Jason Meade murder trial. The jury could not reach a unanimous verdict.
It's a shame that this has taken place.
Justice was served today.
Now the focus turns to a possible retrial.
We'll be ready and to go forward anytime we're supposed to, and we look forward to it.
We will not allow him to get away with it. We firmly believe that he will be convicted. I look forward to the day that Jason Meade is behind bars.
Well, tonight, two different reactions to the case, one of heartbreak, the other of relief. We have team coverage of this decision, but we're going to start with 10 TV's Lacey Crisp. She's been following this case since December of 2020. She joins us live from the courthouse tonight. Lacey?
Yolanda, this has been a long process for everyone involved. The shooting happened more than 3 years ago. The trial lasted 11 days. It's just been an emotional roller coaster for everyone involved, including the jurors. Now, during the trial and deliberations, 4 jurors left, which meant they used every single alternate for the final jury. Now, jurors asked Judge Young several questions since Wednesday afternoon, trying to come to an agreement. But this afternoon, they told the judge they could not reach a unanimous agreement. Now, several of the jurors had tears in their eyes as they walked into the courtroom. I spoke with defense attorneys after the verdict. This is a position this team has been in before. They represented former Columbus police officer Andrew Mitchell. His first murder trial ended in a hung jury in 2022 before being found not guilty last year.
Mark, as you mentioned, it's deja vu all over again. You were here, same situation a couple of years ago with Andy Mitchell. What are your thoughts now moving forward, possibly with this case?
Well, first and foremost, the three of us are going to take a break and relax, reconnect with our families and others and people that we work with. But it's any case, when you look at it, you re-examine, what can I do this? How can we do this better, that better?
And it will be up to the special prosecutors to decide if this case will be retried, which will keep this emotional roller coaster going for both families. Now, 10 TV's Colin Dorsey spoke with Goodson family attorney. Colin, what did he have to say?
Right, and before I get to what he had to say, there was certainly a lot of emotion outside courtroom 7A today as Casey Goodson Jr.'s family waited outside the courtroom for a decision that would never come down today, and that mistrial was not what they were waiting to hear. A lot of hand-wringing today in the halls of justice, an anxious waiting game for a decision that just wasn't going to come. In the eyes of the Goodson family, there was no justice from the courtroom today.
I think if Jason Meade is allowed to be viewed as a reasonable officer, we all have much to fear.
Those are the words of the Goodson family's attorney, Sean Walton. For days, Casey Goodson Jr.'s family waited outside the courtroom. Each time there was a jury question, the anxiety spiked. Then, the final decision of a mistrial was made.
When this happened, you heard Casey's grandmother and her screams. You heard the family and what they experienced. And from that point, it took a year to get an indictment. And here we are in 2024, and the trial is just now taking place, and there's a hung jury. And so there's no closure for them.
Walton acting as the Goodson family's mouthpiece after the mistrial.
Tamala said to me this week, when do we get a break? And here we are, and they still don't get a break.
Both parties, Goodsons and Meades, made their way quickly to the elevators, neither family speaking to the cameras. For both sides, it's back to square one to try and get a decision again.
He has not gotten away with murder. As you see, the judge is right now planning for that second trial. We want a speedy trial. We're ready to do this again next week if need be. But Jason Meade will be held accountable for taking Casey Goodson Jr.'s life.
And as Lacey mentioned, Mark Collins, Jason Meade's defense attorney, did briefly speak after that mistrial announcement. And he says it'll feel like deja vu, but he is ready to go back in there and defend Jason Meade once a new trial date is set. Live from the courthouse, Colin Dorsey, 10 TV News.
All right, thank you, Colin and Lacey. Now, over the 3-week course of this trial, we've seen everything from additional witnesses being called at the last minute, all 4 alternate jurors being called up, and 2 mistrials in a single day, some of which is pretty rare to see in a courtroom. 10 TV's Carly Dion spoke with a lawyer this afternoon to help explain what happens next, and she joins us now live outside the courthouse with more on that. Carly?
Yolanda, tonight I spoke with Ohio State law professor Rick Simmons, who explained to me what happens next now that there's been a mistrial in this case. Now, Simmons tells me now that the jurors have been dismissed, the case will have to be retried from the beginning with an entirely new group of jurors. That is.
Juries have to decide whether or not this victim had a gun in his hand, whether he was pointing at the police officer, questions of credibility of all the witnesses who testified, questions of essentially, was there a gun in the person's hand or not? That's exactly what a jury is supposed to decide. So I understand it's a hard decision. I don't see any other way of deciding this other than what we're doing.
So that is unless there is a plea in this case. He says oftentimes attorneys in the state and defense will try to contact the jurors after the case to figure out how the split evened out afterwards. And if, for example, if it was an 11-1 split on the decision, that is something Simmons says could affect if there is a plea in this case. He also explains this is a case where a jury is necessary because the real question is a question of fact. Now, Simmons also says when those attorneys reach out to the jurors, it will also help them figure out, what to do differently the next time the trial rolls around to avoid another mistrial. Yolanda?
Thank you, Carly. And stay with us for continuing coverage in this trial as we wait for a verdict in the case. We have more coverage on 10tv.com, and we'll bring you live updates on air as we learn them.